we've heard from you and in a modified form from the CFO is just utterly implausible. The texts say one thing. They ask for vehicles in order of priority. And the version that comes back is, no, we were just checking for compliance. The text on their face suggests that you, the CFO, and Sergeant Nkosi were trying to rig this bid. And you were doing it collectively. And this version of Nico being asked by Sergeant Nkosi through you which one of these bids complies and has been assisted by him just doesn't make sense for one thing, and for another is completely incompatible with the actual wording of the texts that are exchanged. And third, presupposes that the CFO is going to start scrutinizing documents which he shouldn't have access to, bids that should be under seal, or not under seal, but under lock and key before the BEC. So, how would you respond to those three issues? First of all, it just doesn't make sense. What's your response to that? Why would anyone be interested in checking for compliance at this stage of proceedings when it's too late to change anything?
SCS, I indicated that it's not true. I'm not close to the CFO, and that's a fact. I only started to speak to the CFO when he requested Sergeant Nkosi, I think, to call me on the 4th of March. I've never spoken to the CFO outside of work before. And if you follow all the tests that I have with Sergeant Nkosi, there's nowhere where I make a follow-up if either we are winning or either how is the process going and so
Deputy
forth.
Deputy Chief,
Demonstrate interest.
Deputy Chief, Mr. Shaskalsin is suggesting on 3 bases that you, the CFO, and Sergeant Nkosi wanted to rig this tender process. Now he has gone back to deal with them, I believe, serially. Now he has gone back to the first one and is suggesting to you that, one, this does not make sense. So the lengthy explanation that you are giving does not address that. Do you agree that this does not make sense? As one of the bases which, when you put them together, show that the 3 of you wanted to rig the bid. So one, does this make sense?
Commissioner, I'm trying to show him, to say my discussion with the CFO, if you can look at everything, was between, the 5th and the 6th of March only. And with regard to payments, the only discussion now is on the 25th of March. And you can't associate the two as if we have been throughout speaking with myself, I'm speaking with the CFO. I'm honest about it.
That you are speaking through Sergeant Nkosi, so you are speaking all the time. So that means nothing. You are speaking through Sergeant Nkosi. And I think right at the beginning you agreed when Mr. Shaskalson started probing you. You agreed that you were basically talking to each other but via Sergeant Nkosi. So you are talking throughout. The fact that you may perhaps have spoken directly at a much, much later stage means nothing.
It's not like we are speaking, Commissioner, about this process nor anything. I'm not speaking with the CFO.
So the short answer is what you disagree that
yes.
This does not make sense. Yes, Mr. Shaskalson?
let's look at your version, that this is all an attempt to establish which companies NICO's been helping and which of those companies are compliant. Now, my first proposition is that makes no sense. And why it makes no sense is that the bids closed on 2 October. And after 2 October, no one could lawfully change any of the bid documents. And if a bid document was compliant, it would go through the BAC. If it was not compliant, it would not go through the BAC. There's nothing that can be done 5 months later to change that outcome. So no one has any real interest in knowing that the bids are or are not compliant in March, when the bid closing date was the previous October. What's your answer to that?
You are correct, as much as I'm saying, but that's the information that Sergeant Gossi gave me.
So you see no logical purpose that Sergeant Nkosi, or no logical lawful purpose that Sergeant Nkosi could have in checking for compliance at this stage? You can't see any legitimate purpose.
I agree with you, much as I never even ask him what is happening or what's happening with these things.
So this whole process, from your perspective, is one that can have no logical, legitimate purpose.
For me, yes, SC.
So that's why I say it makes no sense. For me too, I see no logical, legitimate purpose of this process. But let's look at the second complaint that I have in relation to this version. Apart from the fact that it can have, that if it were true, this whole exercise would have no purpose. The version that you put forward is just not consistent with the texts. Nowhere in the texts does anyone say anything about checking for compliance. Can you go back to any of those texts and show where someone says something about checking for compliance?
That's what Sergeant Gossi indicated, SC.
Yes, but the texts don't say that. The texts say something different. They talk about our vehicles for land to be given ku'umfuetu in order of priority. And the earlier texts similarly convey a meaning of companies to be chosen for the land tender, not companies to be checked for compliance in relation to the bid requirements for the land tenure.
I indicated earlier on that I edited the meeting, just included, because that's what he told me, he wants to send it to the CFO.
Yes, but the wording you choose is wording that does not convey check these for compliance. It's wording that says these are companies to be given ku'umfuetu. Sorry, these are companies for land to be given ku'umfuetu in order of priority. So you're saying these are the companies that you must give to the CFO, and in this order of priority, the CFO must know that our priority is this sequence.
SC, when the message came to me from Nico, it said, find below our vehicle for land in order of priority. Then I edited the message, I added captain, then I also added to be given to forward to, because that's what Sergeant Gossi told me.
But if this message did in fact come from Nico, why would Nico give you a list of priorities that didn't include any one of the companies that he had put on his list that he mandated Victor to give effect to and to rig the tender in favor of? How could that be?
as I indicated, SC, that Sergeant Kosi requested that he give me other 5, different names.
Yes, Sergeant Nkosi requested 5 other names, you say.
Yes.
When did Sergeant Nkosi request that?
He requested it on the 25th. SC.
You see, we see the first time that Sergeant Nkosi knows that Victor has mandated the 7 companies, that Nico has mandated the 7 companies that he gave to Victor is at 8:02 p.m.
Yes.
There's no communication between you and Sergeant Nkosi before you send him back a different list.
There is. I called him. I think there's incoming calls that you could pick up and an outgoing call.
So, well,
2 incoming call.
well, on WhatsApp there was no communication, either voice calls or messages.
It was voice calls.
Well, there's no WhatsApp voice call between 8:02 when you send Nico's mandate to Victor and 9:03 when you send our vehicles for land.
There is one chair on 440 on top, if you can look at it.
Sorry, when?
Page 440.
Yes, but you've already, let's go back. Let's go to 439,
Yes,
chat 5.
439.
Chat 5, you have it?
Yes, we spoke.
No, you didn't speak. That is a text message that you send attaching Nico's mandate to Victor. That's at 8:02 p.m. You see it in chat number 5 on 339.
Yes.
And then the very next communication is chat number 1 on 440. That's at 9:03. And that communication is when you first give Sergeant Nkosi the list of our vehicles for land to be given Kuumpoetu in order of priority.
Yes.
So there's no voice call or text message in between those 2 messages. So how did Sergeant Nkosi convey to you that he wanted another 7 companies?
We spoke, SC, either it might have been in a straight call, but we spoke.
So you're saying it would have been on a cell phone call,
Yes.
that wasn't a WhatsApp call?
Yes, either we spoke on a cell phone call.
So if we requisition your cell phone records, we will find a call between you and Sergeant Nkosi between 8:02 p.m. and 9:03 p.m. on 25 March.
That's correct.
And will you accept that if we do that and find no call, then this version is false?
Yes, I will accept.
We'll do that and we'll have it ready by Monday. But you say, Sergeant Nkosi, in this cell phone call between 8:02 and 9:03 said, send me another list. And so there should be a call between you and Sergeant Nkosi, and there should also be a call between you and Nico, because you'd have had to go back to Nico to get the other list.
We spoke, yes, through
And
messages.
would that also have been on a cell phone?
It might be as on a WhatsApp calls.
Yes. And do you have a log of your WhatsApp calls?
I'm not sure if I still have them.
Well, would you make your phone available to us just after proceedings today to look at the log of your calls to Nico?
You can have it.
Thank you. We were dealing with my second concern in relation to your version, which it doesn't, which is that the version just doesn't match with the text. And what I want to put to you in this regard is nowhere in any of the texts, two propositions. First is, nowhere in any of the texts is there any suggestion that what you're looking for is questions of compliance. Do you accept that nowhere in any of the texts is there any suggestion that what you're looking for is issues of compliance?
It's not me, SC, who was looking for that, it's Sergeant Goss.
Well, nowhere in any of the texts, whether is there any suggestion that what Sergeant Nkosi was looking for was issues of compliance, and what you were reporting to him in relation to his requests concerned issues of compliance?
From my side, he requested NICO to give him additional companies that have in priority how he plans.
No, I understand what your version is, but there is nothing in the texts that supports that version. Either this was said in voice calls that we can't see, or it, well, we certainly don't see it in the texts. You
That's
accept that?
correct.
What we do see in the texts are messages that are consistent with an attempt to rig the tender in favor of certain bidders, though. Because the texts are consistent with an interpretation that this was an exercise of rigging a tender in favor of particular bidders. They refer to our vehicles for land to be given Kuumpuetu in order of priority. Our vehicles for land, order of priority. So the texts are consistent with an attempt to rig the bid, but not consistent with an attempt to investigate issues of compliance. What's your answer to that? Confining it just to the texts.
As I indicated, this was the choice of words from Mr. Matobela. I just edited on his messages and added what was I wanted to add.
I see. But whoever the originator of these messages was, the wording of the messages is consistent with an attempt to rig a tender, but not consistent with an attempt to investigate questions of compliance. Will you accept that? Whether it was you or Nico who wrote the wording is consistent with an attempt to rig a tender. It is not consistent with an attempt to investigate issues of compliance.
From what I was told to say, he wants to give the CFO to check for compliance in order of priority. I wouldn't accept that statement that it was to rig the tender, SC.
But if you accept that at this point there could not be any checking of compliance that is useful or that serves a useful purpose, because that the ship has sailed. Now this is before the BEC, and compliance could not be checked by the CFO. If you accept that is so, which I thought you did accept earlier, then the purpose could not have been. It's reasonable to say the purpose of distributing this list could not have been to check for compliance, unless you say the CFO could. You believed that the CFO could check for compliance. If you don't say that, then you must accept, firstly, that there was no purpose to this list being distributed for compliance, and therefore it must have been distributed for something else, other purpose. And Mr. Chaskalson is suggesting what I think is the only possible explanation. It is to rig the bid.
Commissioner, it might have been that possibility, but I can't confirm because it was Sergeant Scorsese request.
Yeah, but you're assisting in it. When you distribute it, you know that compliance can still be checked at this point. If I expect that you know that. That at the time that Sergeant Ngosi asks for the list and you give it to him, you know that compliance cannot be checked. Then the question, oh, it won't make a difference because it can be checked for compliance at this stage by Mfowe too. You know that. Then you yourself must be distributing it or sharing it with Nkosi for a different purpose other than checking compliance, because you know compliance cannot be checked at this point.
He has asked for it, commissioners. It's not me who's distributing it. That's what he requested. And I'm not privy to Sergeant Scosse's discussions with the CFO.
You are distributing it to him. You're giving it to Nkosi. And you're telling us that you're giving it to him so that, because he said to you, we want to check for compliance. We want the CFO to check for compliance. So you are distributing it. This is not a word play, a play on words. It's not that. It is conduct. You are distributing the list wherever you got it from, whether it's from Nico in the way you say it, or as I suggest, might have been the case, is it is your list or you got it from somebody else. You are distributing it to Nkosi. Your explanation is Nkosi asked for a list. So you distribute the list. And what I'm suggesting to you, or what I'm putting to you, is you could not have believed that this list was going to be used to check compliance because you know the tender process at that stage. So you did not believe that because you either knew the true purpose of the list or in your own reasoning, you knew this cannot be to check compliance because the ship has sailed. Or a third alternative, in fact, is you knew it would be to check for compliance because you know that the CFO Mfowe too has a way of dealing with this.
I don't agree, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Commissioner Baloy has essentially touched on my third reason why this is this version of yourself and the CFO and Sergeant Nkosi is utterly implausible, which is that the CFO has no lawful access to the documents at this stage. He has no lawful access to the documents until the BEC has finished its business and made a recommendation. You know that, because he's not a member of the BEC.
I know that.
So, first, questions of compliance are in fact at this stage essentially irrelevant to anything that can be changed. The bid closed on the 2nd of October. It's not possible to cure non-compliance at this stage. You accept that?
I accept that, SC.
So there can be no legitimate reason for wanting to know whether something is or isn't compliant. You can't fix it. It's too late.
That's correct, SC.
We've dealt with what the words of the text say, but the third issue is, if the suggestion is that this was all about asking the CFO to check for compliance, he couldn't lawfully check for compliance. He had no access to these documents that was lawful. Do you accept that?
I accept it.
So how, in the face of those three problems, do you expect this commission to believe that what was going on here was a bona fide attempt by you and Sergeant Nkosi to check whether certain companies who had been assisted by Nico were compliant?
It's not me checking, it was Sergeant Nkosi, SC.
Well, I mean, the requests come from you. They say, Captain, find below our vehicles for land to be given Kuumfuetu in order of priority. But let's assume we accept your version that you're really just responding to Sergeant Nkosi. Why should this commission believe that what was really being sought here was a list of companies that Nico had assisted, so that that list could be given to the CFO to check for compliance?
If you follow my text with Sergeant Nkosi, SC, you'll realize that this matter back dates from the 9th of March. There's no way in the text, if I had, these were mine, I could have one way or the other checked for progress or inquired about these matters. There's no way in my text where I made a follow-up or inquired about this to show that I don't have, an interest in them.
Deputy Chief, you are contradicting yourself, because when it suits you and the text don't show what you are trying to say, your escape is that, oh, I called him and clarified with him. So why should we not accept that where the text don't show you following up is because you called him and you followed up using a normal phone call?
I did not. I think I might have either tapped on the messages to check either follow-up if they were mine. I did not call him, make follow-up through a phone or something, Commissioner.
But earlier you said Nkosi and I talk all the time and we talk about a lot of things. So the fact that in the text you don't follow up does not mean you did not follow up in other ways.
I did not follow up, Commissioner, that's true.
Thanks.
Let's now look at what happens with your messages that you sent to Sergeant Nkosi, and can we go to page 177 in file 3? And there you'll see that when you come back to Sergeant Nkosi with your list of 7 companies, 7 vehicles for land to be given Kuumfuetu in order of priority. 177.
File 3.
File 3. You recall that the first list that you sent to Sergeant Nkosi had only 6 names on it, and then there was a voice call, then you sent him a revised list with the 7th name, Shumile Security Service, added. And then at 9:08 p.m., he forwards your message, Captain, find below our vehicles for land to be given Kuumfuetu in order of priority. He forwards that message to the CFO. You see that?
Yes.
And the CFO's response is, thanks, Mfuetu, I'm on top of this. You see that?
Yes.
Now, your evidence is that what he wanted the CFO to do was to check whether these 7 companies were compliant.
That's correct.
And the CFO says, I'm on top of this. You see that? Thanks, Mfuetu, I'm on top of this.
I see that.
Now, that suggests that the CFO is going to check whether these 7 companies are compliant.
I might not be aware about it that he's gonna check. I was informed by Sergeant Nkosi, that's what Sergeant Nkosi told me.
Well, when you read, thanks, Mfuetu, I'm on top of this, what does it suggest to you? What does it suggest to you? What do you think the CFO is saying there?
As I indicated, I'm not privy to their discussion. Don't want to make assumptions as seen.
If you were to read this, if you were to have read it, what would you think the CFO was saying? How do you understand, thanks, Mfuetu, I'm on top of this?
I don't want to comment on that.
No, no,
SC
no, no,
am
no,
I?
no, 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 Deputy Chief. You can think. All the question requires of you is your understanding of this response. Even assuming that you did not think of it at any other stage, or maybe even if you were to say, no, I had never had sight of this before, but as you read it now, what do you think it means? Surely you can think, and I don't mean this as an insult, but it's just that I don't understand your response, Deputy Chief. What do you think this means as you're looking at it now?
Much as I indicated, Commissioner, he says I'm on top of this, but I don't want to make assumptions for the CFO.
I'm not asking for assumptions. I'm asking for you to think and tell us, as you read this, what do you think it means? In the context of everything else that you know, that you have said, and even the purpose for which you had forwarded this to Sergeant Kosi, in the context of all that, when you look at this now, what do you think it means in that context?
In the context of what we spoke about, I'm thinking that he's assisting Sergeant Kosi with his request.
Thank you. It was not so difficult after all. Please do not be evasive, Deputy Chief. Yes, Mr. Shaskalsen.
And that request is to check whether those bidders are compliant, as you've been saying.
That's what Sergeant Kosi indicated to me.
Now, how could the CFO lawfully check whether those bidders were compliant? The CFO wasn't entitled to look at any of the bid documents at this stage. You've accepted that.
I accept it that he can't do that.
So, on the face of it, it's looking like even on the benign version that you want to give to Sergeant Nkosi's request, the CFO and Sergeant Nkosi are agreeing that the CFO will do something that he may not lawfully do.
The CFO is doing what?
He may not lawfully do. He's going to look at the bid documents to see if these bidders were compliant. And he's not allowed to do that. He's admitted he cannot see any of these documents until the first meeting of the BAC.
Yes, the CFO, he might not have access to the document.
So how is he going to give effect to his statement that he's on top of this in a lawful fashion?
I can't answer that, SC.
Would you agree with me that there is no lawful way that the CFO can give effect to that statement at that time?
That's correct.
Let's look at the next chats. A minute later, he writes back to Sergeant Nkosi saying, this is ours, Mfowethu. This is ours. This is the final list, right? What does that suggest to you? And Sergeant Nkosi responds, yes, it's our final list.
I think the CFO explained to say that's how they speak with Sergeant Nkosi. Then he indicated it's ours because that's how they refer to each other.
The CFO gave a bit of an Alice in Wonderland version of the pronouns our and we. Sometimes they mean you, sometimes they mean he, sometimes they mean I, sometimes they mean they. But you're saying that in this case, he meant it in the ordinary sense, which meant him and Sergeant Nkosi.
And that's correct.
So he was saying, he was asking Sergeant Nkosi, is this the list of you and me? And Sergeant Nkosi is saying, yes, it is the list of you and me. Is that correct? Is that how you read it?
He said that's how they refer to each other. It might not be for the CFO, but as I heard him explaining to say, it doesn't refer to yours or they refer to each other as ours.
Yeah, so you're saying that was the list that they wanted?
Sergeant Kosi wanted. Can't
No,
say
no,
the CFO.
Sergeant Nkosi and the CFO, it's in the plural, ours.
Put
can't-
to put it differently, but meaning the same thing. So the CFO is saying here, Sergeant Kosi, this is your and my list. Do you agree? He means, Sergeant Kosi, this is your and my list. Do you agree?
I don't agree, Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Chairperson.
So are we back in the world of CFO pronouns, and that when he says this is ours in Mfowethu, he means this is yours in Mfowethu?
This is,
You see, he said, he asked Sergeant Nkosi, this is ours in Mfowethu, question mark. Are you saying that he's asking there, is this your list, Sergeant Nkosi, as opposed to, will you confirm that this is the list of you and of me?
it might be that he's confirming for him to say he has received it. It's ours as they refer to each other. I mean, as brothers, they are one. So it might be a list of Sergeant Kosi, but even if he says ours, he might not be referring to him being included on it.
Well, what I want to put to you is that the ordinary meaning of what the CFO said is, this is yours and this is mine, this is ours. That's how one normally understands ours.
I don't agree to it because we sometimes adopt a way of communication with people, how we communicate, refer to each other, a particular set of standards when we communicate. It might not mean what you are suggesting as saying.
And at the time, were you aware that the CFO and Sergeant Nkosi referred to each other in ways that involved strange uses of pronouns like ours, that when they said to each other ours, they didn't mean ours?
That's how they refer to each other, as I know, to say they are one.
You see, if you go back to page 440, you'll see that after this exchange, in chat number 6, Sergeant Nkosi WhatsApped you a screenshot of that exchange. And you'll see that screenshot, which was WhatsApped to you in chat number 6 at 9:46 p.m. That screenshot appears at page 526. And there, you'll see that at the bottom, Sergeant Nkosi, sorry, can we get 526 up? And can you just zoom in at the bottom text that we can read it? Go scroll up a little bit. You'll see, Captain, find below our vehicles for land to be given ku Mfowethu in order priority El Shaddai Security Services, and the response from the CFO is, this is ours Mfowethu, this is the final list, right? And Sergeant Nkosi responds, yes, it's ours, the final list. So at the time, you had seen the screenshot. You accept that? This was sent to you at 9:46 that evening. If we go back to page 440.
Yes.
So what did you understand to be taking place here?
He was just showing me that he's indeed is in communication with the CFO.
And that the CFO is going to do what?
He's gonna assist him that we checking these companies.
For compliance.
That's what he indicated to me.
If you go to the top of 441, you'll see that after he sends you that WhatsApp, at 10:30 that night, there's a voice call. And we've checked, that voice call lasted over 2 minutes between you and Sergeant Nkosi. At the top of page 441, chat 1.
Yes.
At 10:30 that night. And you will see there, well, so after he has shown you his exchange with the CFO, he calls you and you speak for over 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 22 seconds. What would you have been speaking about?
I can't recall, SC.
But you've seen now that the CFO is going to do what Sergeant Nkosi wants him to do in relation to this tender, from the screenshot.
Yes.
And you know that on your benign version, what that is that the CFO is going to check for compliance in relation to that list of 7 companies, the vehicles for land to be given in order of priority.
Yes.
And to do that, he will have to look at the bid documents or the documents that are supposed to be under lock and key at the BEC in order to check for compliance with those 7 companies.
Yes.
But he cannot lawfully do that. He's not supposed to have access to those documents.
Which is impractical for the CFO to do that.
It's not impractical, it's unlawful.
I'm saying it's impractical because I don't think he has the keys for...
So how can he be telling Sergeant Nkosi that he's going to be checking for compliance of those 7 companies?
I'm not sure about it, SC.
He can't lawfully check for compliance with those 7 companies. You'll accept that?
I agree with you that he can't check compliance.
So I want to come back to you in your role as head of internal affairs at Tshwane. You now, on your version, have a situation where the CFO is communicating with Sergeant Nkosi. He's undertaking, on your version, to check for compliance of 7 companies in a pending tender. And you know that he cannot lawfully do that because he cannot lawfully have access to those documents. Did you take this further?
No, SC.
Why not? The CFO is committing to Sergeant Nkosi to do something which is unlawful in relation to a tender at Tshwane, on your version.
Much as I'm saying, I'm not privy of what are they talking, what is it that the CFO might have committed to Sergeant Nkosi.
You know what he's saying. You've seen all of this correspondence, including this communication between the 2 of them, where they're talking about this being a final list and him saying, I'm on top of it. You know that is a fact because that correspondence is shared with you. So you should be able to answer that question. You now have the facts.
Yes,
that list came from you?
It did not come from me, Commissioner Kumar.
Give it to
I passed it to
You passed
Nkosi
it on,
as he
yes.
requested, yes.
So you know that because you got the list from Nico, you gave it to Nkosi with a clear request that he must give it to the CFO. So you know what's going on.
Much as I indicated to say, I'm not privy to the discussions of Sergeant Nkosi and the CFO. And even if Sergeant Nkosi shows me many things that he speak to this one, he speak to this CFO and so forth. So, and I could not, say either that's doable or whatever the case it might be, what Sergeant Goss is saying.
No, but you are privy to their communication. You are, here. One, you pass on lists and you say it's from 482. So you know that.
That's
You
correct,
give it to
Commissioner.
Nkosi to pass on to 482. So you are privy to that communication. You know that Sergeant Nkosi and your CFO are discussing bidders in a tender process or in a bid process that is still underway. You know that as a fact.
Yes.
And yeah, please, let's accept that we know you know that as a fact, because that's what the correspondence that is being shared here by you and with you tells you. Then you also get to see the communication where the CFO says to Sergeant Nkosi, I'm on top of it, because it's shared with you, right? And then you get to see also, is this our final list from the CFO to Sergeant Nkosi? You see that because it is shared with you. So you are privy to those facts. And so you should be able to answer the question of Mr. Chaskason's question, because on the basis that you are privy to these facts and you are head of the internal unit, whatever it's called, you should be able to act. You have the facts to act.
That's correct, Commissioner. I was privy to the information, but I did not see it the way you are putting it, to say it. I could have investigated this matter.
Mr. Chaskason?
Can we go to your statement at page 11, file 1, page 11? And there you were responding to a question at paragraph 56 at the foot of the page, which you frame as follows. Reasons for me to discuss issues / matters relating to procurement of the city of Tshwane and or the TMPD, particularly in relation to TMPD 2, 1, and 3 with Sergeant Nkosi. Also provide reasons for providing Sergeant Nkosi with the names of companies or bidders for the city of Tshwane and or Tshwane Metropolitan Police Department.
It's page?
Page 11 of file 1.
Okay.
And your answer is, I haven't discussed matters relating to procurement of the city of Tshwane with Sergeant Nkosi. I merely provided him with administrative documents as he requested. See paragraph 50. The said materials are public documents. Do you stand by that answer, that you didn't discuss matters relating to procurement with Sergeant Nkosi? Because it seems that, at least in relation to what we've just been seeing, looking at, you have exchanged many texts with Sergeant Nkosi in relation to matters of procurement.
That's correct, SC. I did not discuss matters that relate to procurement.
So how do you characterize what's happened here, where we've seen a constant back and forth in relation to messages concerning TMPD-1, and on your version, although the messages say one thing, you've had lots of calls with Sergeant Nkosi where he's explained that he doesn't want to rig the tender in favor of Ngapesheya and El Shaddai. He actually just wants you to check for compliance of those two companies and to check for compliance of other companies that were assisted by NICA.
Yes, SC, as I indicated, I was just transmitting the names as requested by Sergeant Nkosi. I did not discuss any procurement matter with him.
So you didn't understand this question relating to matters relating to procurement to include your exchanges with Sergeant Nkosi concerning which companies Nico had assisted on the bid, which companies were compliant, which companies weren't compliant. You didn't understand it to fall within the ambit of the question.
When it says procurement matters, it's matters either that relates to, issues, of ensuring that I help me with the document compilation, also, discussing pricings and so forth, or what transpired within the bid evaluation committee, because those matters are confidential and so forth.
Well, if you, I'm struggling with that answer because it does seem to me that everything we've been looking at would be a matter relating to procurement of the city of Tshwane, particularly in relation to TMPD1. Which bids are compliant in relation to TMPD1 must surely be a matter relating to procurement of the city of Tshwane in relation to TMPD1.
It was only me sharing what he requested, the names of bidders. I did not have any discussion with regard to any procurement matter.
No, you did, because you also gave him a list from Nico that Nico said was a mandate that had been given to the chair of the BEC. You recall that?
I agree with you much as I'm saying those were only, names of bidders that he requested, I forwarded. I did not discuss with him any procurement matter.
Well, is it not a procurement matter if what you're sending to him is a message saying that Nico tells me he's given a mandate to the chair of the BEC to rig the tender in favor of these 7 companies? Is that not a matter relating to procurement?
It's not a procurement matter, SC.
What is it then? How would you describe it?
I'll describe it as an allegation that one is indicating and the names of bidders. You might have found them, on their website and so forth, and indicated that.
But this is not a random selection of bidders pulled off the website. It's a list of 7 bidders specifically identified as by Nico as the 7 bidders he has mandated Victor to rig the tender in favor of.
And there are bidders who had submitted bids in respect of this tender. So it's not random bidders. Please respond to the question by Mr. Chaskalson.
It's not a discussion on procurement matters, commissioners.
It is a discussion on procurement matter. There's an undergoing procurement tender process or evaluation process that's happening. And Victor is the chairperson of the BEC, and these companies are participating in that tender. It is a procurement matter.
I stand by what I indicated, Commissioners, that it's not a procurement matter to... Why do you say that? Why do you say that, Deputy Chief? Why do you say it's not a procurement matter? Sorry.
Why I say that, Commissioner, because the bid documents, if I was discussing either bid document, the question of the specifications, the scope and so forth, that would be procurement matters that I'm discussing with him.
Isn't the entire process starting from the specification through to the preparation of the tender document itself, through to the publication of the tender, the submission of the bids, the bid evaluation? Well, we hear from Tshwane that they have something they call probity. So through the probity process, through the evaluation, through to the recommendation to the municipal manager in this instance, and the final award, isn't all of that a procurement process?
That's correct, Commissioner, that it's a procurement process.
No,
But
no, yes. Then something that relates to any stage during that process would be something relating to the procurement process. Here, for example, it's about names being forwarded, or at least required to be forwarded to the CFO about this same process that I've sketched from the beginning all the way to the end. And the CFO responds after those bidders, the names of those bidders have been given to him, and he responds. And these are bidders, they are part of the process in the sense that their bids are to be evaluated and eventually considered if they have been referred to the later stage, and to be evaluated by the bid adjudication, and to be adjudicated by the bid adjudication committee if they have gone to that stage. All of that surely is part of the procurement process, Deputy Chief.
I don't agree, Commissioner, because bid register get loaded on a website, it becomes public. So names of bidders does not amount to a procurement process.
This was not just about the names. It was not just about the names. It was about these are